There's a rumor that OTF Vonnie is cooperating.
Yep, Lil Durk and Vonnie crossed him for some money.
Millions, you got millions, you got to write off.
Y'all don't start with that.
You're gonna do 30 years, so I think they actually do 30 years.
But I feel like Durk actually, he had a good damn good chance.
Lil Durk is currently battling for his entire future. One of his close friends just flipped for a 25-year plea deal with the federal government, which has the streets buzzing. Everyone was taken aback by this move because it came from a person Durk had a lot of faith in. This is becoming one of the most outrageous betrayals in rap history. This street drama isn't like the others. This is a tale of alleged betrayal from inside, allegiance breaking under duress, and the feds reportedly utilizing Durk's own circle to destroy everything. This entire story is becoming increasingly bizarre by the one day. This is the point at which things start to go wrong. Many outlets, including Chicago's own Trench News, have reported that someone was absent from the lineup when Durk and his co-defendants were in court lately. People initially assumed that the guy might have fallen ill or had a paperwork problem, but it seems much more serious than that. According to reports, VI was discreetly moved to a different location, possibly even hidden under witness protection, because he is assisting the federal government. The entire fan base was trembling at just one twist alone. Take a moment to imagine this. Sitting with Durk, DD Boogie, and the rest of the team trying to remain composed while dealing with serious accusations in that courtroom. However, one of the main participants in this purported murder for hire case has abruptly vanished. It's not random timing like that. That is not a coincidence, or a case of luck. In order to keep their alleged star witness safe and out of the spotlight, the feds are working behind the scenes. The streets are conversing like never before, and this whole situation is developing into something that no one anticipated. He clarified that VN had moved completely out of the path and wasn't simply missing. He wasn't just moved to another county or block. They moved this individual all the way across the nation to Rhode Island, far away from anyone who may try to influence his decisions or put pressure on him. When the federal government moves you in that manner, it usually indicates one thing: you're speaking, and your voice is quite loud. When you're not showing up for court, this series conveys the entire narrative without requiring any spoken words. In the midst of a significant case, federal prosecutors don't move someone carelessly. That's not how they work. That kind of action is only taken when the individual starts to become valuable, when the facts they're disclosing could contribute to the development of a case solid enough to imprison dangerous people for an extended period of time. There is a cost associated with that kind of care. To be clear, OTFVI, whose true name was Kayvon London Grant, wasn't just a man who hung out with the crew. King Von's real cousin is this dude, someone Durk spent years with, someone inside the circle's narrowest areas. He was in possession of credit cards. He was traveling on a private aircraft. He had access to all the behind-the-scenes operations that were only visible to those who could be trusted. Access at that level is dangerous. But here's what twist that many people failed to notice. The street pressure he attempted to move into was not exactly what VN was designed for. VN was more of a slick talker than a soldier. According to several accounts, he was characterized by some as a cunning manipulator, someone who could converse endlessly with others while taking their money without doing anything. The street claims that hardly everyone was surprised by this change. Some people said they could always see the signs, and if it worked to his advantage, he would flip your money 20 times over and slide it back as if nothing had occurred. This was no typical street hitter who gained respect via deeds or loyalty. This was a methodical gamer who used angles, numbers, and manipulation with ease. That's precisely the type of person who gives out when things become tough. The entirety of VN's past illustrates why he's the ideal kind of witness that the federal government prefers to seize. VI always leaned more business-minded than street-minded, in contrast to the others charged, who had extensive histories and reputations to cling to. He knew profit far more than he ever understood street codes, and that makes all the difference. When a person such as, with no strong street allegiance ingrained in his bones, he faces a life sentence, and cooperation quickly becomes alluring. Such witnesses are highly valued by the federal government because they are able to explain complex procedures in a way that a jury can comprehend, as well as break down money and traces. In situations like this, it is uncommon. Street guys may find it difficult to clearly explain specifics or refuse to speak out of principle. However, if it means getting a better result for themselves, men like Vinny will sit down and guide investigators through every stage. Interview for
Situation's gotten, well, I don't know. You would say it got more dicey, but you don't really know what's happening right now because you're just hearing a bunch of stuff, but it hasn't been confirmed. So there's a rumor that OTF Vonnie is cooperating.
That's the kind of testimony that prosecutors long for. However, this is the point at which everything takes a more sinister turn, much more dark. Vonnie allegedly took more than $300,000 from King Von after Von had already left, according to recent information. Give that some thought. This individual is accused of robbing his own cousin, the same cousin he had openly stated that he loved. Vinny allegedly moved $200,000 from Van's account to a blank account in August and then had the audacity to steal an additional $150,000 in October. That's untamed conduct. We are discussing an individual who embezzled money from his own family while his relative was already dead. All of this has supposedly been verified by the mother of King Von's child and other relatives, some of whom even claim to have concrete evidence of the transactions. The whole thing was in disarray just because of it. Lil Durk didn't want to believe the warnings from the family about what Vinny was doing. Vinny, they informed him, was Durk maintained a strong relationship with Van despite being seen on camera leaving the bank with Van's money, because this wasn't some impoverished individual stealing out of necessity. That decision reveals everything about Vinny's character. This was a deliberate action by a person with no conscience, access, or opportunity.
Say that Vonnie never got his money.
The dad is saying that Lil Durk and Vonnie crossed him for some money. It's either three things that he's saying, and he's saying that his son them crossed him out of the money. Like the money he stole from Von, he didn't give him no money, that he stole all Von money out of his account when he died. So he said that he wasn't to testify, and he going all the way with
For his actions throughout Van's funeral preparations demonstrate a degree of heartlessness that is almost unbelievable. Furthermore, time adds to its unsettling nature. Just a few months after Van's death in November 2020, Vinny was already taking money out of his accounts while Durk was grieving the loss of his best friend and Van's family was struggling to get by. Vi. In the meantime, was moving money around and accumulating wealth off a man who wasn't even present to defend himself. V's alleged departure from the bank with those withdrawals should have immediately ended his relationship with F. According to security footage, if anyone else had seen something like that, they would have severed their relationship right away. Taking anything from a friend who has died is unpardonable. But instead of being a strength, Durk's loyalty became something vain. The most depressing aspect of all of this is realizing how much Lil Durk contributed to Veen. This was not merely a professional relationship. Durk was like family to this man. Everyone has watched the video of Vinny that was uploaded at Icebox with both Durk and Von were negotiating contracts, managing large sums of money, and acting as though he were a member of the core team. In one video from September 2021, Vinny appears to be Durk's personal negotiator during a significant jewelry purchase. She is shown carrying large sums of money and debating prices on Durk's behalf, as if he were in charge of the room. That spirit was untamed.
When you're making millions, you got millions, you got to write off.
Y'all don't start with that.
This man was regarded like a brother, trusted with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and granted complete access to F vehicles. By simply having him around, Durk made him a millionaire by giving him access to private jets and allowing him to attend meetings in the first row. From being just another face in Chicago, VNI now travels from city to city, stays in opulent locations, and leads a lifestyle that most people will never experience. It was a significant upgrade, and each time they entered the icebox together, the trust was evident. Vinny wasn't watching in the background. He was counting money, negotiating, and making calls as if he were directly managing Durk's business. You don't assign that role to a stranger. That's a position that should only be filled by someone you firmly believe is devoted. He was treated like blood by Durk. Durk even granted him access to the entire system, including important financial transactions, cards, accounts, and corporate decisions. Vinny was more than just a friend or helper who hung out at the studio. He was essentially serving as Durk's financial right-hand man and company manager combined. That's a big responsibility. Here's the harsh reality, though. When Van's family attempted to warn Durk, he ought to have paid attention. They asked him to sever relationships after showing him the signs, the evidence, and the video. But Durk rejected reason in favor of loyalty, and now his freedom may be at jeopardy because of that loyalty. This entire scenario demonstrates how devotion may become a dangerous trap. Most people would applaud Durk's natural tendency to stick by those who supported him from the beginning. However, that same commitment made him vulnerable to Vinny, a man who obviously knew how to exploit it. Furthermore, Vinny was not a minor participant in the alleged murder-for-profit setup that targeted Quando Rondo and resulted in Lil Pab's death. According to the FBI indictment, Vonnie is being described by the feds as the mission's logistical brains, the individual who connected the moving elements. They laid out some crazy information. They claimed that in order to help plan the hit, he and Durk took a private plane from Miami to Los Angeles. After landing, he allegedly paid cash for 4 black ski masks and rented a hotel room where the shooters stayed using an F credit card. That's active participation. Additionally, he allegedly arranged trucks for the group to use during the operation and provided them with weaponry, including fully automatic rifles. This was not simple stuff. According to the feds, Vinny was serving as the shooter's on-the-ground commander, ensuring that everything was prepared for action. The worst aspect is that he allegedly left a complete paper trail in his wake. Purchases of weapons, hotel reservations, and credit card swipes all lead directly to F. The indictment appears to be a detailed explanation of how a well-planned strike is assembled. Additionally, every step of it is linked to Vinny's name in the documentation. From the time they landed in Los Angeles until the gunmen fled, he was supposedly in charge of organizing everything, calling plays, and setting up logistics. Yes, saying you're going to do 30 years is one thing. Doing 30 years is another matter. However, I believe that Durk had a very excellent chance. The fact that the feds don't portray him as someone who was merely carrying out orders makes this much more detrimental. They say he made important choices by himself, selecting the hotel, selecting the vehicles, and managing the purchase of weapons turn him from a mere accomplice into a true co-conspirator. However, he is the ideal government witness because of this same engagement, as he is well aware of the alleged operation specifics. Vinny's use of F credit cards for all these transactions demonstrates either recklessness or audacity, conceit. Perhaps he believed that no one would ever find out about the charges. Alternatively, it's possible that he was already planning ahead, preparing to work together, and ensuring that there was a paper trail that pointed the finger at everyone else while providing him with leverage to negotiate when things went wrong. It's messy either way. However, this is what makes the scenario even riskier. It wasn't simply VNI, he was present at all times. He and Durk were on that aircraft. Every conversation was audible to him. He observed the preparations being made. He is fully aware of each person's purported position, and now it seems like he's prepared to enter that courtroom and tell the feds everything. The government based the entire case on the notion that this was a multi-state, multi-individual, coordinated operation, and VNI's evidence may, in a sense, connect all those moving pieces. Ordinary evidence would never be able to. He is able to explain to the jury not just what occurred, but also why it occurred and who made the important choices. According to reports, VNI is requesting a 25-year plea agreement in return for testifying against Lil Durk. A life sentence in a murder-for-hire case is essentially a blessing from the government. Even though 25 years seems harsh, the math was even broken down by Trench News, with a 25-year sentence. VNI would be released at the age of 55, possibly even in his early 50s if he received the customary 85% sentence for someone who could have easily spent the rest of his life in prison. You don't give that deal much thought. However, this is where things get really frigid. This was not a last-minute decision. According to sources, long before his detention, they said, Veen had been calculating potential penalties and looking for ways out in case things went wrong. After being discovered, this person did not break down. Perhaps he was preparing this. Start at the beginning. This person had a plan to leave right away. This was hardly a panic, as evidenced by the fact that he was breaking down all potential charges and sentence text messages. It was a tactic. He was fully aware of the potential obstacles he may encounter and the precise actions he would need to take to shorten his time. That isn't loyalty. That person prioritizes their own needs over those of others, and was actually sending out breakdowns of his costs via text message as if he were doing a business calculation. He examined each charge's contents, hazards, and ways to lessen the damage. Count by count, he was never emotionally attached to the street code or the individual standing next to him, as seen by that degree of preparation. Loyalty wasn't his foundation. His foundation was self-preservation. Furthermore, the fact that the federal government is considering a 25-year contract demonstrates how essential they consider his evidence to be. They don't make such proposals until they think the witness can condemn a more well-known person. In this instance, Lil Durk is undoubtedly that larger name. The fact that Veen is essentially exchanging Durk's life for his own freedom is what makes the whole thing feel so cold. Vinny is negotiating a settlement that might allow Durk to leave prison in his 50s with years of freedom ahead of him, while Durk faces the prospect of spending the rest of his life behind bars. That is not cooperative in the slightest. That is a complete betrayal of someone who supported, trusted, and cared for him like family. The possibility that the feds won't need anyone else to flip makes it considerably riskier for Lil Durk. Durk's entire case could be severely harmed by VNI alone. He was in the aircraft. He was in charge of logistics. He participated at every stage of the preparation. He is an expert in everything. He wasn't peering in from the outside. He observed the preparation, heard the discussions, and may provide testimony to Durk's purported role in each aspect of this entire circumstance. Because they don't have to manage a number of cooperators who might stumble over each other's stories, the feds like cases constructed this way. One witness was present from the beginning to the end, and that's all they require. VI is able to take a jury through the entire time frame in detail, from the first phases of conception to the plot's actual execution. This is what makes Durk's situation even more difficult. VI doesn't have the same issues with credibility as other witnesses. He's not just any old street person with a lengthy criminal history. Durk trusted him because he was King Von's cousin and had access to the most confidential information. His statements had a distinct impact. Vi will therefore be hit hard when he takes the stand and tells the jury that Durk personally instructed him to plan this hit. The defense may attempt to discredit him by bringing up the pilfered funds from Von. However, that could potentially make him appear even more plausible, as if he had nothing left to defend, no one left to impress, and no need to keep Durk safe. A witness like that is risky. Additionally, this federal play is straightforward yet lethal. Wonderful, that enough. They don't have to demonstrate that Durk was in Los Angeles or that he really squeezed the trigger. They only require proof that he was involved in the plot. Veen is said to be able to describe that in graphic detail. The purpose of federal conspiracy charges is to apprehend the planners, those who make the decisions, supply the resources, and initiate everything without ever handling a firearm. The government just needs to demonstrate that Durk was involved and that someone died as a result, not that he was aware of every detail. The main topics of VNI's testimony will probably be his discussions with Durk, any directives he says he received, and the materials he claims were given to enable the scheme. Vinny can testify about the tone, time, preparation, and purported motive behind their chats even if Durk never spoke the specific words, "Go do this," and that might be sufficient to imprison someone on its own. In retrospect, There were warning signs everywhere. It's loud, blatant, and hard to ignore. It should have been sufficient to end any further business dealings with Vinny as soon as funds vanished from Van's account. Additionally, Van's own family's express warning to Durk ought to have been a deal breaker in and of itself. However, in street circles, this is the issue with loyalty. It can sometimes make you blind to dangers that are right in front of you. Durk ignored obvious evidence that Veen couldn't be trusted because he was too preoccupied with maintaining his social circle and respecting Vaughn's cousin. For months, Trench News had been criticizing it, claiming that Vinny was the case's weak point. The other defendants, meanwhile, had codes and reputations to uphold. Vinny was the most likely to flip, as he had the most to lose and the least credibility to stand on. Furthermore, these warning indicators were not at all subtle. Van's family had more than just a suspicion. They had proof. Transaction logs, bank documents, and security cameras all demonstrate Veen transferring funds from Van's accounts into his own. There was no miscommunication or missing money that could be attributed to poor bookkeeping. It was obvious that this was stealing. It should be the end of the matter when your deceased best friend's family informs you that someone stole from him. That degree of treachery should not be preceded by any allegiance, history, or justifications. However, Durk disregarded those cautions, and that loyalty, which typically made him stand out as a strong individual, became a vulnerability that anyone might exploit. The most bizarre aspect is that Venice continued to operate inside despite all of these accusations emerged. That demonstrates either his extreme conceit or Durk's extreme naive faith. Perhaps Vi believed he was untouchable because of his relationship with Vaughn. Perhaps Durk thought that familial ties should take precedence over anything else. In actuality, though, the ruling may be contributing to the current state of this case. There is much more to this treachery than just legal issues. Is destroying Lil Durk's entire legacy in front of everyone. This artist established his whole brand of loyalty, consistency, and never changing. Someone who was sitting in his inner circle the entire time is suddenly throwing songs like Loyal Brothers, and all those songs about remaining steady back in his face. It's a cruel irony. For years, Durk rapped about snakes lurking in the grass and phony buddies. However, the larger snake was seated directly next to him, eating, flying, and shaking his hand. Now that his own day one is apparently about to testify against him in federal court, all those lyrics about loyalty and staying true to oneself sound different. Furthermore, this is more than just a legal dispute. Everything Durk stood for is being harmed. When someone you trusted with your job, your finances, and your inner circle, someone you treated like family, and who is related to Vaughn by blood, decides to betray you in front of a jury. How do you recover? No bar or diss track could ever fully heal that wound. Because this case mirrors a larger issue in hip-hop, the whole music industry is keeping a close eye on it. Despite their enormous success, artists are unable to completely detach themselves from the street mentality. Even after becoming millionaires, they are still under pressure to use violence in response to disrespect. Durk's journey from street rap to mainstream fame was meant to be a tale of development and liberation. For a generation, he was the voice, someone who succeeded and turned into a real success story. But now, as his past drags him back into chaos, that story is falling apart piece by piece. Additionally, the drill scene in Chicago is greatly impacted. One of the few people that transitioned from drill to the mainstream while maintaining his esteem in both domains was Durk. No matter how far you soar, your history can come knocking at any time. His possible downfall conveys this message more loudly than any music. Growing up without a father who was incarcerated for 25 or 26 years was a difficult background. I had a difficult history, but when I went to Atlanta, I felt like everything had changed. The way the other defendants are handling all of this is quite telling. DD Boogie and the rest of the team reportedly had a positive attitude during court. Despite the fact that they are practically battling for their lives, they are smiling, laughing, and acting composed. That may seem odd to outsiders, but it may indicate that they have knowledge that the general population is unaware of. Perhaps they're confident in their legal strategy, or perhaps they think Vinny's testimony won't have as much of an impact as others anticipate. More likely, though, they're merely attempting to maintain their composure in the face of overwhelming odds. Vinny's absence, meanwhile, says it all. The reason the feds transfer a cooperating witness is to safeguard their asset, that is, to keep him safe, secure, and undisturbed until the time comes for him to testify. Press releases don't have the same impact as that kind of action. Another significant setback for the defense is the nameless jury. Only when they genuinely feel there is a danger to the jurors' safety do federal judges impose anonymous juries. And because it sends a message straight away, the defendants are immediately at a significant disadvantage. This group is deemed dangerous enough by the court to need special protection. That casts a cloud on the entire trial. Highlighted a crucial point. A jury that is essentially anonymous warns the jurors that simply sitting in the courtroom could put their lives in danger. This creates uncertainty and anxiety even before the trial begins. It generates a difficult-to-shake silent presumption of guilt. The jury is aware that they are dealing with individuals who the system believes require more security measures, which alters the entire environment even if the defense makes compelling points. In the grand scheme of things, this case highlights everything that is wrong with the current hip-hop scene and street culture. Even when artists achieve worldwide recognition and earn millions of dollars, they continue to carry remnants of the streets with them. Some have managed to escape, but they are still under pressure to use violence to resolve long-standing conflicts rather than leaving. This is the result of fame and the streets combining, and it illustrates how risky that combination can be. Lil Durk had everything set up: millions in his pocket, widespread recognition, Grammy-level achievement, and a platform large enough to drive significant change. However, it is said that despite all of that, he was unable to resist the urge to defend Von and the pressure of street revenge. The same individual who allegedly assisted in planning that retaliation is now getting ready to testify against him. This event serves as a sobering reminder that loyalty is not returned by the streets. The fact that this entire situation could have been prevented makes it even more awful. Durk achieved a degree of success that ought to have completely shielded him from street feuds. He had the resources to deal with the situation legally, the authority to completely abstain from violence, and the voice to inspire youth. However, loyalty combined with sadness, rage, and the pull of old habits can lead someone to make decisions that are inconsistent with the life they have worked so hard to create. The same loyalty that strengthened Durk's reputation and kept his inner group close turned out to be a vulnerability that his adversaries exploited. The twist is excruciating. The very thing that could be costly is what he stood for 4 years. Everything to him. The story is still developing even though we have examined this subject from every perspective. VNI has not yet made a statement, and Durk's legal team will have an opportunity to respond and defend him. However, when someone you raised to success and treated like family is eager to testify against you in order to reduce their sentence by years, it is difficult to ignore the warning signs. That demonstrates just how brittle allegiance can be in this world. This whole thing goes well beyond Lil Durk and Finn in the modern world. It serves as a warning on loyalty, trust, and the consequences of ignoring warning flags that should never be disregarded. Sometimes the individuals who are closest to you have the power to completely destroy your life. And in real time, this example demonstrates that. The federal government made a strong case. Additionally, they have an insider who can dissect every aspect thanks to VNI's cooperation of the purported plot. Unless Durk's legal team can dissect V's account or demonstrate that he is lying to protect himself. This appears to be one of Durk's hardest fights to date. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and enable notifications before you go, though you never miss a single Rap Uncovered song. We don't sleep, and neither do the streets. We're just getting started, and you can expect a lot more bizarre tales, in-depth research, and bizarre turns. Every day, we release heat. Additionally, tomorrow's upload is going to be even more bizarre, in-depth, and unmissable. Share this with all of your homeboys. Hit the like button and leave a comment with your ideas. Do you believe Veen's testimony will be sufficient to convict Durk? What does this whole thing tell us about loyalty in modern hip-hop? Here at Rapscop X, where the reality of the streets is shown. We'll see you in the next one. We'll see you in the next one.
There's a rumor that OTM Vonnie is cooperating.
Yep, Lil Durk and Vonnie crossed him for some money.
Millions, you got millions, you got to
Hey,
write off.
y'all don't start with that.
You're gonna do 30 years, and so I think they actually do 30 years.
But I feel like Durk actually, he had a good chance.